It's about a 7 trillion with a T suck from people. And it's great for Jamie Dimon and all the banks. That gets disrupted by people make fun of Laszlo because, he gave away 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. If he would have kept them, he'd have 1,000,000,001. Yeah, sure. But that transaction is one of, and it's not the only, but it's one of the key points that allowed us to get where we are. I say this all the time. The miracle of Bitcoin is not that we just went from 74K to 111K. It's not that we went from 10,000 to 60,000 or even 1,000 to 10,000. The miracle is that we went from 0.0003 to $1. That's the miracle. The fact that it actually caught, that the technology actually caught on, and doing a transaction was what we needed. And we're a year in, right? It was May 22nd, 2010. So we're more than a year in, a year away from Hal Finn saying running Bitcoin. And so it's pretty important. And he did create also the first GPU miner, which pretty big deal. So lots of contributions to our stacks. Stablecoins are the future of payment rails. I talk about this all the time. The first time I bought an NFT sitting on my couch in my pajamas on a Sunday using MetaMask was glorious. Not because the NFT did anything, but just because I didn't have to wait for Monday for the bank to open. I didn't have to go anywhere. I was in control, instant settlement, beautiful. So the construct of payment rails being unleashed from Swift, ACH, Fedwire, yes. So stablecoins as a bridge to the ultimate answer, talk about the last trade, we're going to have CeFi. So we have TradFi, we're going to have CeFi, and then ultimately we'll have DeFi. CeFi includes stablecoins. Well, why do I say that? Well, because stablecoin is really just a better fiat, and fiat sucks for many different reasons, but it's way better than central bank digital currency, which could be programmed and they could tell you how and when you could use your money. That would be evil. But stablecoins just backed by fiat, good. And it'll solve the short-term problem for the US of low demand for treasuries. Do I think that has impact for Bitcoin? Yes and no. See, to me, Bitcoin is digital gold. It's the new base layer of money. Gold's been the base layer of money for 5,000 years. Gold will be for the next 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever. And what does that mean? Well, today, central banks buy gold, they put it in warehouses, and then they have, Fedwire, ACH, and, the Visa, MasterCard networks. I don't actually use physical money anymore. I just use my credit card, and I settle up once a month. And so those rails are supported by the banking industry, and it's about a 7 trillion with a T suck from people. And it's great for Jamie Dimon and all the banks. That gets disrupted by stables. So, if I want to send money to my mythical mother-in-law in El Salvador, my mother-in-law's in Tulsa, but if she was in El Salvador and I sent her money, it would cost 30 cents on the dollar to send her through Western Union. But if I use Strike app or stablecoin, I could do it for free. So that's better. Okay. But, somebody's gain is someone else's loss. Yes. So those big banks and payment companies are going to have a tough time. So I'm a huge fan of stablecoins, and I think all transactions will run on digital rails. To me, the difference is I still live in a fiat world. I can't pay my taxes in Bitcoin. I mean, I can buy Steak and Shake, I guess, but most things I can't buy. So I put as much as I can into Bitcoin and Metaplanet and things like that, because ultimately Metaplanet, I just own Bitcoin, as my savings. For my fiat, I don't want it in cash because that gets devalued. I'd rather it be in a stable form, and that, is a good thing. But ultimately, and Murray Stahl says this better than I do. He runs Horizon Kinetics in New York. And like I say, Murray's the only guy I know who makes me seem bearish. Like he makes me seem like Bitcoin is going to zero, which is crazy. But I think Bitcoin displacing gold and having the monetary value, and I say it's half of the monetary value, which today is 25, so that's 12 and a half, something like that. And some would say, no, it's higher than that. Maybe it's closer to 20. Fine, let's call it 20 trillion. So gold at 20 trillion, that's $1 million Bitcoin. Done. Awesome. Easy. I mean, 24 months, I'm going to take the over. I'll tell you exactly how many months. It is May, June, July, August, September, 52 months. We'll hit $1 million. I love stablecoins. I love everything they represent. I think they're a stepping stone to ultimate. Oh, so Murray's point is that, okay, yeah, fine. You're talking about gold as the base layer of money, but I'm talking about all this fiat. And I tweeted this out the other day. It's this great, it's a big pyramid like this with a little pyramid like this. And this is Bitcoin and this is fiat. And literally he's saying all that fiat is going to push into the bottom, and that bottom pyramid is going to look like this. And it's all going to be orange and all the green's going to go away. So he's like, it's 100 trillion, which is, meaningfully higher than $1 million a coin. One thing about the Donald is he's an incredible opportunist. And he does surround himself on occasion with some really smart people. Not always. I mean, there's plenty of examples where he does the opposite. But on occasion, he gets some really smart people around him. And so it's amazing. We are 1 year away. We're only 1 year away from Nashville, where someone said, geez, you got to go to this event because, we've done the math and there's a lot of voters and they're one issue voters. And if you say these things about Bitcoin, and I'm sure some of you guys were there, he got up on stage, and my favorite part was, he does the free Ross and everybody's happy. But my favorite part was when he said, and on day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. And the crowd went batshit crazy. And you could see in his eyes, he's like, oh my God. That was like a drug. That was awesome. Like, I'm going to say that again. And he said it again, and the crowd went even more batshit crazy. And so he didn't believe any of this stuff. But David Bailey and others have really done a good job educating. And, whether it's Barron or Eric or, whatever, but there's been some education. And again, hopefully, Donald's walking around with a Bitcoin account that he's going to pay stuff. He tried doing it at the pub key one time and it didn't work. But whatever. So, but his level of education did rise, which then said it was okay for some of the other people. And we always had Senator Lummis and others, because Caitlin did a good job with her. But there was an amazing number of people. Patrick Henry from our district here in North Carolina. I mean, there's been a lot of people who they were willing to be courageous. And look, at the end of the day, all great investments, all great